this is Dread from Epic Builds, and in today's video topic, we're going to go over Lightning Swipe Attack Speed Stacking Beastmaster 2.0, proving that nerfs aren't enough to keep ingenuity at bay. Before we get into the video, if you've been enjoying the steady stream of last Epoch content, I'd suggest leaving a like on the video, as that's the best way to support the channel. So before we actually get into the build, I'm going to show you a clip of the insane crystal sword that I used my first rune of creation on, as that's the whole reason I'm playing this build in the first place. Alright guys, I'd literally just gotten a rune of creation, so you know what time it is? It's time to duplicate. It's going to cost 5 forging potential, obviously. Where does it drop? Does it just drop down below? Oh, it literally just splits it. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Yay, now I can play Mana Strike again and not feel terrible. Yay! So Lightning Swipe was nerfed last patch. They nerfed the base stats of Crystal Swords from 200% melee elemental percentage to 160%, and also nerfed the attack speed roll from 20% all the way down to 16%. This, on top of the removal of infinite aspect of the shark stacking, means that Lightning Swipe was in a poor state. But they did give us a bone. The base stats of aspect of the shark went up from 50% increased melee damage to 75% increased melee damage at base, which means when we are clearing monos, our uptime on damage is a lot easier to maintain. This makes monolith farming a slightly bit easier, which overall helps the build immensely as its clear is much better than before and not mediocre like it once was. This patch, we got legendaries and sealed affixes, which this build definitely takes advantage of both of them. For the sealed affixes, I'm sealing extra attack speed on my crystal swords, meaning I'm getting about an extra 32% increased attack speed more than what you normally get if you just simply made the build with rare items. Does that mean your version would be worse than this? No, not at all. 32% less attack speed isn't really that bad when you already have 432% increased attack speed. To be honest, those would have been better as crit multi, but it's too late now. We're also using a legendary 3LP Storm Claws. I actually sacrificed my T6 attack speed gloves to the Lego gods to create this, but a 15% attack speed Storm Claw would be just completely fine. The reason we're using it is the +1 to swipe is insane, as we're using that plus the +2 swipe on our relic. This lets us add an extra 45% increased lightning penetration, which normally doesn't sound that good, but thanks to the swiped tree being so anemic with more percentage damage, it means that we take whatever we can get. We also can run a Thornslinger legendary for another +1 on our swipe for another 15% lightning pen if I didn't have the atrocious problems with bleed and FPS. So with all this combined, makes a very fun Orbis killer, while also not being as bad with clear as the last iteration. Overall, the build came out better, as we only needed to invest a little more to make up for all of the nerfs, and this all combined with the Summon Wolf plus Frenzy Totem critical strike chance combo, which is now a Beastmaster special now that they locked Frenzy Totem behind Beastmaster this patch, means the build ironically is easier to gear outside of the weapons. If you want a much cheaper version of this, which is just as effective, I'll be providing a link to the Swipe EQ physical setup that I had originally made to replace this build in the description. I know this all seems a lot more expensive than usual, but thanks to all the new tools we have this patch, it becomes a lot easier overall, as when you get one really good sword, all you need to do is Rune of Creation, and bam, you have 2 really good swords, and then you're set. With all that being said, let's get into the video, shall we? Alright, here we are in game with the build. So for the general skill rotation, we're going to be turning on Tornado on autocast to give us a little bit of attack speed and movement speed. And generally for like monolith gameplay, we walk up to a pack, place down our Frenzy Totem, use our Wolf Howl, and then that will give us enough crit to like clear the pack. This combined with Warcry is enough to actually give us a lot of crit. Now you must be wondering, Dread, Why does the damage look so bad? Well, that's because Aspect of the Shark does not stack on the dummy because reason. So, that's pretty much it for the combo. You just flip through the whole combo and you just attack. And that's it. I'm already at 311% attack speed, but with Aspect of the Shark stacking, we get up all the way to 400%, which is satisfying, definitely. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the skill rotation this time. Pretty simple. So for Swipe itself, we take 8 points into Way of the Hunt. This health leech is insane for us as it lets us leech from everything. We take 4 points in Wingari Reach for 20% more damage in the area, because the area is very important as Swipe has very poopy AoE, so it's definitely nice to have extra. 1 point travel into Calling, although the 7% definitely comes in handy sometimes when you're killing tougher bosses. 3 points into Trapper. So my swords, they didn't have slow chance on them. So I had to actually set up my Frenzy Totem for slow, which don't do this. But yeah, I had to do that. So yeah. Then of course I forgot about it for like halfway through the build. It's like, oh yeah, we're losing like 60% more damage. Yeah, that would help a lot. Turns out that's pretty good or something. Yeah. 1 point travel into Stormclaw, 2 points travel into Umjal's Guidance, and that's enough to turn Swipe into a lightning skill, which means that we get the attack speed, the implicit attack speed from Crystal Swords, which is rather neat. And then, of course, for Swipe here, we take 4 points into Storm Scour. If we had an extra point from running a Thorn Slinger, which I don't have on right now, although I don't think you'd probably want a Thorn Slinger with minion health regen on it. That would be my suggestion. You can actually get another point into Swipe, and if you had even more extra points into Swipe, you'd probably start dumping points into Umjal's Guidance for more melee flat lightning, because lightning is the majority of your damage. And that's pretty much it for Swipe. For Summon Wolf, this year's stereotypical utility wolf setup. Mainly, we're just making it so whenever we howl, we get a bunch of attack melee damage, which I can show you in a second here. Get a bunch of melee damage, which is really nice for us. We also get aspects of the links. It's a lot. It's like a lot. We also get Frenzy, which makes up for the fact that I'm not running an actual Frenzy totem. We're running a slow totem, sloth totem, whatever, right? Then, of course, the health and the health regen makes it so that the wolf almost never dies, which is nice. I've only ever seen him once. I've only ever seen him die once, like in my entire time playing this build, which was like a few days. And that's pretty much it for Summon Wolf. It's not really that different. For Frenzy Totem, we want 4 points travel to Grounded, although that melee physical is nice because since aspect of the shark is percentage melee damage, which is global, it means even if we add a little bit of melee flat physical to our damage, like it's still extra damage, right? That is being increased by everything. Then 1 point 1 point into Dig In, which is a bunch of increased damage. Then 3 out of 5 points in Dig Deep. You want 5 points in this, but I had to do slow chance because I don't have slow chance on my swords because I'm stupid. 2 points travel and Rabidity for the effectiveness. This would be amazing if, I wasn't running a slow chance totem. Then 2 points travel to Bestial Frenzy. 1 point into Furious Cry. This is the whole reason why the combo works, is because Wolf Howl has a 10-second cooldown, but whenever we place down our Frenzy Totem, it refreshes it. So instead of being on a 10-second cooldown, it's on a 6-second cooldown, which is much easier to handle. Then 5 points in the Lead the Pack to pretend you didn't have points in the air. You'd have 5 points here, and these both combined would be enough crit on top of Warcry. It would all be enough crit where you literally didn't have to care about crit at all on your gear. Like you could run whatever else you wanted, which is really neat. Then for Warcry, it's your stereotypical Warcry setup for attack speed. We just want as much attack speed as possible, of course. And of course, some crit from Bringer of Winter. Then that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's not really much different than normal. And then, of course, for Tornado here, it's your stereotypical Tornado utility setup. Mainly, we're just going for the attack speed, the duration, the movement speed, and making it so it's instant cast, so it stays on us. So we always have one. So we're always, tornadoing, which means we always are getting the cast speed, the attack speed, and all that, and the movement speed, which is rather nice. And that's pretty much it for the skills. For the passives here, 6 points into Gift of the Wilderness. This increased minion health is good as well because we want our wolf to not die. 2 points travel into Primal Strength. 1 point into Harmony of Blades, which makes it so we can dual wield swords, which is really convenient. 5 points into Hunter's Restoration for the increased health. 6 points in Survival of the Pact. We get a little bit more leech on top of this staggering, 16%. So as much leech as possible means that we pretty much can face tank most things. 5 points in Berserker. Just TLDR, this is extra EHP. Just as much HP as possible. It's really nice, like, because it takes your low amount, like it takes your endurance stuff and like makes it even stronger. And that's pretty much it for the base tree. For Druid, I'm taking 7 points currently into endurance. If you have better gear than me or better blessings, you wouldn't have to run this endurance. It's just you could actually run this point somewhere else. You don't actually need this. This is just because I don't have good endurance on my gear yet. You could probably put it into life instead or somewhere else. 5 points into Silent Protector. We actually want a little bit of mana regen because we're not running the mana nodes on Duality of Nature because we're not running like the EQ combo, which means we actually need a little bit of mana regen to make up for the fact that we're spending all of our mana. And I found that the perfect amount is like 16-ish, it seems. 16 seems to be like the perfect amount for the whole combo, which is nice. So this helps us out reach that point. Then 5 points into Totemic Fury, of course, making our Frenzy Totem give us even more attack speed. And Beastmaster, 8 points to Earthsign Strength. The DR is insane because we're always nearby enemies. 1 point travel into Savagery. 1 point travel into Ambush. Then 1 point into Rending Maw. I have found that this with 1 point is enough because if you have 10 slots, right, 10 stacks, that's 200%, right? But then it's reduced by the effect, so that goes to like 140, and then it goes back up thanks to effect and duration and all that. So this is about 200% increased armor shred, which is plenty. And this is also applied to our wolf, so we make our wolf useful for something because just extra useful for the wolf. You don't actually need these points, to be honest, if you have armor shred on your swords like I do, but in theory those shouldn't be armor shred, those would be shock, and this should be shock and slow chance. So it's like that this would actually solve all your armor shred issues if you did not have all that. So this is like for if you don't have the perfect swords like I do, or the swords that I do. And of course, that aspect of the boar is always more of aspect of the boar, of course, aspects of the boar on melee hit, which is nice. Then we're currently putting 5 points to life in the wilderness. If I didn't have to put points into chitness plating to get myself some more endurance, I would put extra points in this, and then extra points into avian shelter to help us out with the endurance. 8 points with Cry of the Lynx. This pretty much gives us aspect of the Lynx. The base buff of aspect of the Lynx isn't that good. It's like just a bunch of crit. But that on top of Serrated Claws for the 120% crit multi is plenty for aspect of the Lynx, making it so whenever we cast our Wolf Howl, we gain a bunch of crit multi, which is really strong. You could do aspect of the Lynx effect. The problem is it's very diminishing returns as it's only 60% of the crit multi that's affected. So it's like 10% extra Lynx effect, which is a lot. It gets you up to 66% crit multi, which isn't really that much. There are better ways of getting crit multi. Aspect of the shark stacking is definitely way better. Then 10 points in the Viper Fangs for the increased melee attack speed. This node is absolutely insane, even if you're not playing aspect of the Viper, because just the attack speed itself is worth grabbing on these nodes. Then 5 points in Circle of Life, so you get aspect of the shark on kill. 1 point to Dragon Slayer, so that this turns into on hit for rares and bosses, so we get aspect of the shark a lot on bosses, which is the whole point of the build. 1 point into Natural Bond, so we get more health for our companion since we only have one, makes it so he doesn't die. 8 points into Ocean Maw for the 120% increased effect, which is mostly important. And of course, duration makes it so whenever I do get it, it lasts for a long time. So this actually helps our uptime on clear. The effect is insane because it helps us get up to, like, I think it's giving us like close to 100% increased attack speed with full stacks up. then 1 point into Feeding Frenzy, so we get up to 10. This is the node that was nerfed. It used to stack infinitely, and now it only stacks up to 10 stacks, which is sad, but you know, they did buff the base version of it, which gives us 75% increased melee damage, which helps us overall with gearing because it gives us a lot more melee damage than we normally would have. And that's pretty much it for the passive tree. Now for the gearing. Oh, this is the fun part. Where am I? The gearing. So idols, you want aspect of the shark effect idols. If you're missing shock chance, you can also run one of these. It's actually very efficient to run one of these at least because it gives a bunch of aspects of shark effect. And of course, aspect of the shark or HP idols everywhere else, depending on where your gear is at. I just have a little bit of resistance as well. The helmet, you want aspect of the shark effect, vitality, HP, endurance. The amulet, you want a little bit of mana regen, then crit multi, then HP, frailty probably. The sword. So the only thing that's important on this sword is the 40 melee lightning damage and the 5% melee crit chance. Now, this is a T6, and it's actually not even rolled perfectly. It is pretty okay to just run a T5. It's just T6s will take you a long way overall, just in general, because that is a lot of flat, but your build won't be worse by any significant means if, you know, of course, you would have T5. You could always fix this a little bit by adding crit multi instead of that melee attack speed, and for the, you know, the prefixes, that would help a lot. But other than that, it doesn't really matter. You really just care about having the melee flat lightning and the melee crit. This I actually doubled with the Rune of Creation, like you saw in the clip. So I have 2 of them, which means, you know, of course, I have 10% extra base crit, and that on top of all the other crit that I have from the Wolf Howl and the Frenzy Totem and the Warcry. That's enough crit to cap my crit, meaning that I don't need increased crit anywhere else, which means that's pretty damn good. Like I said, crit multi instead of that increased melee attack speed, I noticed. But that's pretty much it. This build can push up to 500% increased attack speed. Is it worth it? No, it's not worth it, because what happens is you end up giving up too much survivability for the attack speed, so it's definitely not worth it. This sword was really fun to craft. I'm kind of sad that I didn't put crit multi on it instead, but whatever. It's like, what else am I supposed to do? Then for the chest, you want aspect of the shark effect. You want minion health. You want a little bit of minion health so that your dog doesn't constantly die. Increased health, and then HP as well. The ring, so I am running a quicksilver recoil. This is one of the perfect legendary targets for you because that increased melee attack speed, obviously, and the haste as well, which is nice. It saves you a few points to the passive tree. The resistance as well. The resistance here is helping me as well. You don't need a quicksilver recoil. You might be better off just running a regular ring anyways. I was just trying to push up to ridiculous amount of attack speed, and quicksilver coils have a little bit of attack speed on them. The belt, you want minion health regen on the belt. You could use a thorn slinger, but I'd heavily suggest slamming minion health regen on the thorn slinger, because minion health regen is the main reason why your wolf isn't dying all the time, because he gets 300% increase HP regen, which is really nice. The increased health is really strong as well, because like I said, you don't want your wolf to die. You could swap this out with the amulet for mana regen. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Then, of course, health. You want as much health as possible with this build. Then for the other ring, I'm running another mana regen roll. Since we're getting all of our increased damage from aspects of the shark and our crystal swords and stuff, we don't really need increased damage on our prefixes, which means we can run stuff like mana regen, minion health, and like stuff like that, which is kind of nice because like I'm not used to that. You could also run strength as well for extra armor. You would need to invest into the druid tree to get a little bit of flat armor. So what you would do is you would invest in a Spriggan form. You would probably kick out Tornado, run Spriggan form, get all the extra armor from a Terra's Bulwark. And then you'd run this node, which gives you a 10% chance of getting a Thorn Shield when you're hit. That would give you a lot of armor, which that plus the strength stacking, which actually equal a lot of DR. I might leave that actually in the description as the build that you should probably be following, to be honest, because that's probably better. The gloves, obviously, these are pretty ridiculous. The crit doesn't matter for you. The endurance obviously matters. The only thing that matters is the attack speed. The only thing you need on Stormhide paws to make them equivalent to a decently rolled pair of gloves is, of course, the attack speed. If you get attack speed on a pair of Stormhide paws, which they drop all the time, uh, that's fine. The +1 to swipe is all we're really looking for, is for the extra lightning pen in the lightning swipe tree. And of course, it gives a lot of other goodies. But mainly, you just want the attack speed. I made these as a generic pair of gloves because it gives me HP, gives me resistance, it gives me everything I really want in a pair of gloves, which is nice. Then, of course, the boots, you don't need this T6 HP. You could do T5. Actually, to be honest, might be better as crit avoid instead. Then, of course, for the relic, you definitely want +2 to swipe. Whatever you do, even if you have to kick out some idols, like HP idols or whatever, for resistances, you definitely want +2 to swipe because, like I said, points on swipe are really strong for lightning because you got to put extra points into Storm Scour, which is just a pretty much a generic more damage multiplier because you can't really get anything else. Now, I am getting shock from my huge Nomad idol. 40% shock, I found, is literally enough. When you are at max stacks of like swipe and stuff, you can tell, thank God they added this, the ailment thing. We get up to 20 pretty much without aspect of the shark stacking, which means that with aspect of the shark stacking, we will definitely be at 20. So I found only 40% is plenty. So either you could run this, or you could run the 40% inside Shaman as well, and it would actually give you some HP as well. So it's really just dependent on what you have. And that's pretty much it for the build. With all that being said, this is just more of a showcase of what you can achieve on this patch. With all that being said, thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye.